with a great story to share the next hour with us. Thank you for being with us. Fine.
Hi. I'd like to thank Pam for bringing me to see that. It was great to talk to you guys. Were any of you here for the last talk? Wow. Okay, I was going to totally veer and just go straight into what I'm doing now, but I think I'm going to backtrack a little bit. And I actually, I'm going to keep my phone out, not to be rude. I'm not waiting for text or anything. But I talk a lot, and I wanted to have a good, long session of question and answer. So I found last time we talked that was the most valuable. Really honored to be here. I'm excited about the launch pad. I had no idea what Pam and UCF were partnering and doing until I met some of the students who were coming out of the launch pad and have impacted my business in ways that I can't even describe to you. So I think this is a great place. I'm not going to go back to my very earliest roots of learning to sew. I'm just going to buzz through it really quickly. I am a tailor. I am a lifelong tailor. I was taught to sew by my grandma, who had a restless Spitfire 9-year-old on her hands every summer in Vero Beach, Florida, and she would do these projects with me. So, like my education, I am not a trained tailor. I was a literature major in college. I thought I wanted to teach college. I just had this driving, itchy passion for sewing and making things. I'm not a fashionista, honestly. I could care less about what I look like. I could care less about what the world looks like. I like making things. I like my hands in fabric. I like to be dirty. I like a long day in a studio. I love that feeling of I've been in there for 8 hours, and there's just like this weird, great music, and I've been in the zone, and something is like maybe a quarter of the way done, and I know I've got to get another 2 weeks at it. I like that. That's who I am. I'm a maker. So I'm a maker, however, has a pretty thriving career in the fashion industry. Started in Vero Beach, Florida. Grandma keeping me busy on her Kenmore sewing machine. Made all kinds of stuff. I won't even date myself telling you what we made, because I'll tell you exactly how old I am. Couch Patch Dolls and Flash Dance, one-shouldered sweatshirt things. I'm 41. But they were hot back then. I from the time that my grandma taught me to sew, I never took on the sewing machine. I have no formal education, I'll tell you that, in my field. So, let's see, went to college, yada, yada, yada. Studied abroad a couple times, found myself bringing more sewing supplies than clothing or books. Sort of started telling me things when I would trek to France with a whole sewing studio when I'm there to study literature. So it was just like, I'm a good story of listening to my passions. There was a lot of stuff I was supposed to do, I didn't do any of it. Yeah, I just kind of stayed true to what I really dig doing. I'm very lucky. I was born with a very overwhelming passion for something weird, and I just stuck to it. So, grow up, moved to Austin, Texas, opened a tiny shop in the back of a hair salon. I'm making anything anybody will give me. I'm making custom dog covers with special snack pockets. I am making debutante gowns. I hate the idea of debutantes and whatnot. No offense. It's just, I'm a California girl. It just doesn't work with my culture. But I did it. I said yes. I'm making custom purses. What else did I do? Oh my gosh, I did custom rifle bags for a veteran of a war and his son. He wanted to teach his sons about self-sufficiency with guns. I would just anything. I just wanted to learn how to do everything. So I said yes to everything. I basically paid for my shop waiting tables. I'm a when they say bootstrap professional, I am a bootstrap professional. I always looked for a satellite career that would pay my bills so I was free to learn however I wanted to learn. So that's what my 20s looked like. 30, I moved to New York City 2 weeks after 9/11. 2 weeks after 9/11, let's talk about the Twin Towers fall down. And I've got a small savings account, and a friend has a room for me in Fort Greene, Brooklyn, and I went anyway. It was the best thing I ever did. I never wanted to be a designer. I wanted to be a tailor. I love sewing. So I'm in New York City, and I hear about this agency, this guy who books tailors on high-end fashion photo shoots. And I got my foot in the door on one fashion photo shoot with Stella Tennant. She was like a 90s model. She was really, really, really big in the fashion industry when I was her age. It's my first job. She was the model for a Japanese company, and I was really excited to work with her. And the hairstylist asked me, "You a Lars girl?" I said, "I absolutely am not, but I'm going to be." So what this looked like is I researched Lars Nord, an agent who did what I did. Let me describe to you for a second. And you guys, please feel free to just throw your hand up and say, "Slow down, I do not know what you're talking about," because I'm trying to go fast through this so I can get to today and questions. What I do right now, I have a lot of jobs. I'm really lucky. I have a 5-year-old, so I have a real job that I'm super passionate about. It's amazing. I'm a freelance tailor. I work in fashion photo advertising. Has anybody checked out my website with my bio? I'm not going to go too big into it. If you guys want to check it out, I've got my resume there. I've got. Can I manipulate this?
Definitely.
How do I make it
Your
go?
site's looking good since the last time I saw it.
It's done. I'm actually marketing with it finally. Pam has been. I'm one of the lucky few that gets to go on walks with Pam. So she's
Pam walks.
Okay, can we open this?
Yes.
Thanks. Okay, so now we're at shoots, and we'll go down to the bottom. This is all backstage. Here I'm the lead tailor of Halston's fashion show when Sarah Jessica Parker became the co-owner and designer. Ralph Lauren photo shoot in Miami. This is a couture line for a European magazine. This is another Ralph Lauren in Miami. This is me in Joshua Tree Desert with Ralph Lauren. This is Ralph Lauren just started a literacy program. They did a fashion show that corroborated Matilda the musical and a Ralph Lauren kids show. You guys might have seen that in the press. That was just 2 months ago. I was second lead tailor on that. This is me in Big Sur building something for a shoot. This is New Jersey. This is upstate New York, and that is Montego Bay, Jamaica. I am the girl who packs her sewing machine into a little suitcase and goes all over the world. I hang out on photo shoots, and I pin models, and I build props. That's how I make my living. So here's my client list. That's the you know, I work with, so I learned about Lars Nord. Courage building. There was no mentor for me to go to get my job. I didn't even know my job existed when I was basically trained for it. I also have a very strong faith I'm Christian, and God kept telling me when I was in the back room of his hair salon in Austin, Texas, doing work for absolutely no money, just keep going. Just keep doing this. You don't know what this is building to. I know what this is building to. When a door opens so flagrantly in my face, here's one of my things. I've been told that my spiritual gift is faith. When a door opens in my face, I leap through it head first. I ask questions later. That's how I've gotten where I am right now. I don't recommend this for everyone. It's stressful, but you know, it's taken me to a lot of great places. So I heard about Lars Nord Tailoring Agency. I heard about these Jedi Knight tailors who go out on shoots and do anything. And literally, I am given a 45-minute window between the time the model walks in the door and the stylist stops schmoozing and catering is on the table, and then we have to get the first shot in. I'm on like a multi-million-dollar image-producing set, and I have 30 minutes to reconstruct, you know, handmade couture. Yeah. So I have a lot of tricks. I needed a toolkit that I got in Texas working for nothing, building anything, ripping apart any clothes, not clearing $1. But it gave me the skill set that I put in my back pocket. When I went to New York City, found out about Lars Nord and his agency. Lars is one of me. Lars' story is a lot like mine. He just comes from Sweden. And then he's a business person. He's a great entrepreneur. He said, there's an industry in New York City for these tailors like me can make man. Except he was Donatello Versace's right-hand man. And then people started finding out that there was somebody who would go on set and make the clothes fit rather than just pinning them and taping them and getting them to look okay. So Lars started hiring people like me. And Lars travels the world, so it's very hard to get in touch with. So I started calling Lars' office every Wednesday at 4 p.m. I had a schedule. Sticking to schedules, I recommend that. Every Wednesday at 4 p.m., while I was waiting tables in New York City and building this insane other business that I won't get into because it was a pain in the butt and irrelevant. Every Wednesday at 4 p.m., I would call Lars Nord's studio, 727-3822. I still remember the phone number. His office manager's name was Joyce, and she's a Brooklyn woman. So every day I would call her 4. She started picking up the phone and saying, "Hello, Bonnie. He's not here. He's out in California with, Bruce Weber." So, like she'd always fill me in on where he was, which was driving the seduction. And basically turn me down. But I kept going. Every Wednesday at 4 like clockwork. It was 6 months in. I had the world's jankiest portfolio. Please, you guys, we're living in the age where everything is so perfect on Facebook. There are all these TV shows showing what what I do does, and everything looks so much more perfect than you do. It doesn't matter, because when it comes down to it, I had this janky portfolio. It was like one of those little plastic covered notebooks where you can slide pieces of paper in and out. And I just like taped my little pictures. We were still printing pictures back then. So of things that I had made when I was in this design collective in Austin, Texas. Oh, I'm a community builder. I built the Designers Guild of Austin, which is still running in Austin, Texas. We built a community collaborative store. We had Fashion Week twice a year. We started in a cafe over a conversation with a designer. I think we're like 30 designers deep now. I'm not a part of it anymore, obviously. I live in Orlando. But my pictures came from that time. Never say no to fun, even if it doesn't make you money, because you have no idea how you can build strength of what you want to do. I imagine if you're here listening to me, you guys are all like artists of some sort or another. I don't think somebody with a maybe passion for accounting is going to come out and listen to the fashion girl. I don't know. And I don't actually know anything about a passion for accounting. Maybe doing weird creative accounting is going to build your career. But if you're here because you're creative and you want to build a career and you can't really see the steps for the way in, have a ton of fun on your way in and say yes to everything. We would go off. We would get a cavalcade of like 10 trucks in Texas. I had all these beautiful friends, all these little rock and roll kids. I mean, this is like back in my early 20s. I'm 41 now. But we would get these cavalcades of beautiful people, and my photographer friend Andrew Stinson, who's now shooting for the cover of Surface magazine, would come up with stories, and I would build design lines, and then we'd put them on people. And my friend Brooke, whose mom owned a hair salon, would put makeup on them. We'd go out in the middle of Texas and do photo shoots at weird diners. Everybody thought we were from Vogue. We actually would just say yes, we were, and really we were just from Austin. But we had a great time, and we put together all these pictures, and I stuck them on, I thought black paper looked really impressive, so I stuck them in a little, it was not a portfolio. It was a 49-cent folio from CVS. I took it to Lars Nord. Finally, I called. I'm living in Gramercy. Lars Nord's studio is on 23rd and 7th Avenue. I called and she says, Bonnie, you're not going to believe it. He's here. How soon can you get here? He's leaving in 15 minutes. I am dead broke. I've got no money. I've got a bus pass. I had this fashion outfit in the closet that I had put aside 6 months ago for the moment that I could see Lars Nord. So it's the middle of summer, and without thinking about it or updating it, I throw on my Lucite high heels and my wool pants and my weird sweater thing. It's like 900 degrees outside, but I do it because that's my fashion outfit, and I gotta go. So I get this thing on, and I'm out the window. I'm just out the door, and I jump on the bus, and I barely make it. Lars is this really gracious Swedish man. He gets my portfolio, and he's looking through it, and he's noticing the details of my sewing. That's the thing that got me on set, because I make complicated clothing. I love sewing. I don't care about fashion, but I love sewing. And I love little turns and corners. And I love a beautiful gown. And I love bodies and fabric. I love the sculptural element. I love it. And so Lars is noticing, he's not noticing how janky my portfolio is. He is noticing the details of sewing. So when you sew, you also, it's an obsessive passion. It's not something you learn quickly. It takes decades to learn how to turn a corner, really. And Lars is better than me. So he's looking at my little corners. He says, I'm really impressed. So 2 weeks later, I get called to lead the John Barbados fashion show. Right beneath John Barbados. It's my first job. I go walking in with this red Samsonite suitcase. I look like a hick out of Bunkinville. I don't know what I'm doing. I botched the whole thing. It's absolutely terrible. I overcomplicated it. I didn't know that there's a whole different type of tailoring for photo shoots and shows because you have much less time than if you're working for a real client. So did my first show, botched it bad. They called me back. Landed Ralph Lauren. That basically made my career. I'm on Ralph Lauren's photo advertising team. I've been with them for 13 years. I just came back from New York City. They're launching Polo Women's. I'm not allowed to tell you this. Please don't tweet it or hype it on Facebook or anything like that. You know, we did a big, I was building samples for the high profile photo thing. They're going to try to make women's polo as big as men's polo. Women has been Ralph Lauren, or Ralph Lauren Rugby, or Ralph Lauren Collection, but polo has been sort of minimal, so they're really pushing and launching that. And so I was on that shoot. I also did a men's Chris book. I just came back from 10 days. I'm tired. I just think I can do that shit in here. So anyway, it's been a cool run. You know, it's freelance work. They say that 45% of the workforce these days is contract or freelance. I always feel like it's not a real job because I don't have a 401k provided by a business. And I kind of look back at, you know, like what I've had to get myself into. It is a real job. I've been with them for 13 years. I'm very intimate with the team, and I've come to, you know, come to them. And so it's funny. That's a whole other talk, is identity as a freelance person. It's hard. It's hard. It's an emotional tightrope building a freelance career and committing to it and sticking to it. It's a lot of side work. That's where I have to really account. So let's see, where do we want to go? God,
Make sure and weave in what you're doing now.
Oh, that's where we're going.
This is a new startup, right?
Yeah. No, what I want to do is I want to give you guys where I've been. I want to talk about what's happening now. Okay, we can weave that in now. I quit my agency. I'm self-represented. I am now Bonnie B. Taylor. And I build props for Disney. Disney did an Adventureland expansion where they built a room out of burlap dripping. It was like all seaweed, and it's a patchwork tent from the outside. I built that whole thing. It took me 3 months. I hand stitched all the seaweed burlap. I mean, it was so much fun. We got to go behind the scenes with Hollywood studios to build it in the soundstage because it was too big to build in my studio. And then we would go in at like, you know, from midnight to 5 in the morning to like hand stitched in place. It's been lived there for 10 years. If you go to Adventureland, the new redone Adventureland, any textile object you see that's a themed piece came from me and my team. I'm really proud of that, actually. I love working for Disney. So I had a lot of jobs. I worked for Ralph Lauren. I worked for Disney. Running through my career like a stream has been a passion to teach sewing. Dying hard. One thing that I enjoy when I talk to people, you know, as an adult, you say hi to somebody. We're Americans. Say, hi, my name's Bonnie. They shake your hand. They tell you their name, and they ask you what you do for a living. That's just what we do. I say I'm a tailor. I'm going to say 100% of the women who hear me say that get this melty Lauren look. Like, oh, I wish I could sew. You know, it's just like it's an essential thing to do that we don't have any way to learn anymore. Nobody wants to walk into Joann's Fabrics. I don't want to walk into Joann's Fabrics, and I certainly don't want some old lady from Joann's Fabrics to push me to make a janky pillowcase. And really, that's your only option. I mean, there are a couple of online resources, but they're at best, they're haphazard. And also, there's this weird culture among seamstresses that I've noticed. I hate being on big teams with a whole bunch of other seamstresses because they think they're rocket scientists and they're really competitive and they like to make really simple things sound very obscure, and they're not. It's the stuff that grandmas used to do. So I have a passion to teach sewing. Does anybody in here know how to sew? How many other hands? You know how to sew. I love that.
My mom made me sew my own Halloween costumes from the time I was 5.
That is awesome. That is awesome. My son and I sew.
What's this year's Halloween costume?
Actually, is anybody here dreaming of a life in fashion or clothing? I mean, is there anybody here who's here for that? Yeah. Okay, so before I go into my school, which is going to be bootstrap, community-oriented business building, does anybody have a question about fashion industry? I've been in it for, let's see, 2001 to now, 13 years. Yeah.
When you're trying to balance financial goals with like your creative goals, And do you always take creative over financial? Like you're talking about the pay cut and just doing what you, was it always just like you didn't even think twice about it?
It's a good question. That is a really good question. I made good money when I was full-time freelance. When I lived in New York City, I made really good money, and I worked part-time. So I didn't think about it. When you work in the fashion industry, you're compensated so heavily because they kind of have to own you. Now that I'm a mom, I think about that a lot. You know, I live here in Orlando. I'm such a girl and you are such a boy. I do not mean to generalize, but it's not my first. For me, my long-term goals are going to look like the effect that I can have on young people. And I kind of think, I don't know, I don't want to take us back to the 50s. I did study feminism in California when I was going to college, but I will say there's something in me that's born that my endeavors want to touch other people. So long-term financial goals I really suck at. I just hired a financial, group to do all of that. What I do, the way that I handle it, is I do monthly minimums and yearly minimums. And then after that, I have somebody else handle profit. Because I don't really know what to do with it. So I run like an external wheel to hit my monthly minimums. And that effort usually plants enough seeds to reap a little bit more than I need. That's a very abstract way of answering your question.
Makes sense.
But I'll tell you, I don't think I've ever put a financial goal first. And if ever, I'm a pretty convicted person doing my weird thing. Like even before I hit, when I was running my shop, I was probably clearing $4 a day because it was so expensive to have a shop and buy supplies and this and that. But I loved it so much, I got a fine dining waitressing job where I would get $700 a night, put it in my bra and walk out. It was like I always just found ways to make what I needed. So yeah, I would say creative came first for me. Yeah, I like to let you into the underbelly of what I actually do. So that's pretty much how it goes. I outsource what I'm not good at. So I just hired ADP to put me and my team on payroll and handle my future planning, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not even thinking about it. Anybody ask any questions? That's a really good one. Yeah.
So when you met with like Ralph Lauren, Lars Norman, what did you say, or what were some things that you did that were make it or break it kind of things, or your like the way you acted, because you just had your portfolio, right? And so I wanted to know, like when you met with these people, what were the things that made the connection right there, that the vital things, if you can remember.
Good question. How I am right here is kind of how I am everywhere. I don't prepare, and I run on a lot of passion and enthusiasm. So I'm pretty sure I hit Lars Norris's studio dripping with sweat, wearing my lucite heels and my roulade pants. I don't think I did anything good. I don't think I said anything good. I didn't have a professional portfolio. I'm pretty sure Joyce let him know that I'd been calling every Wednesday at 4 since, like that January. And I haven't had pivotal moments. When I met Ralph Lauren, he did his first men's, he's like Oz in the company. I meet David all the time, his son David Lauren, and then I'm definitely close with the advertising team because that's who I report to. The one time I met Ralph Lauren, it was men's fashion show. He doesn't do men's fashion shows in America. He does them in Italy. So it was the first one he'd done in 30 years in the United States of America. And I was his lead tailor, and we had like 60 models to fit. He's got these 2 German assistants who are really critical and mean. And I'll tell you what, I pinned all of his suits in a way he hated, and I got taken off of the role of lead tailor and put back into the the back room with other tailors as like I was leading the work team. And the reason that I'm telling you that so clearly is it didn't break our relationship. Like, there was no one magic thing I needed to say. I had been on his team for 5 years already. I didn't shine as his lead tailor on his fashion show. They put my co-tailor Albert in, who did shine and did a great job. And I continue to work for him today. I don't know that I've ever had that one pivotal moment like in the movies where it just goes ding. It's just been a long line of hard work and showing up, and I don't get discouraged. If I botch something, I'm up again and ready to go the next day. So in my field, I botch a lot. I mean, I pull off a lot, but I botch it. So you botch tons of stuff. There's so much to be botched. So yeah, I wish I had an amazing answer, but honestly, I think that my rise to a comfortable, steady career has looked a lot more like a really ironic indie film than it's looked like, you know. Okay, so let's move on to any more questions. Yeah, I'm really noticing. I hope I'm not pessimistic. I just like to be realistic because there just was never a moment where I just slid into place. But, you know, oh, you're hired, you're in. I've never had that moment. It's just been like, 20 years of waking up every day and in some way or another showing up for it. And it's very interesting how all of a sudden you look around when you're in your career and, I've got this resume and I've been all these places and I've got this solid reputation in my field. And I realized I'm just that dorky girl who kept doing it and messing up all the time. Like nothing I make ever suits my standards. My standards aren't that high. So anyway, okay, so what I'm doing now, I love to sew. I want to teach kids how to sew. I started to feel guilty. I am a socially conscious woman. I'm a deeply socially conscious woman. And so I'm working in advertising. What that means is I am making beautiful women feel like garbage every time they look at the pictures where I've tailored the clothes to an abnormally slender woman who's idealized in this image. The image is geared to tell you, you don't have this beauty, but if you buy this thing, you might approach it. Trust me, I have lived my life in the shadow of that pressure. Atrocious. I have been anorexic, I have been bulimic. I mean, we've all struggled under the weight of what advertising, media, and film do to femininity. Because let me tell you something else. The models aren't even that great looking, and then they're photoshopped. I mean, they are great looking. Actually, Valentina walks in the room and the whole light changes, and she's like, sort of wasn't that her. She really is like, a gorgeous film. But they still airbrush her, Photoshop her, it's a many-hour process of perfection that not even the models can meet. So I started to feel bad. I was like, wow, I am advertising for the biggest companies in America. My hands are on images that are reaching probably every American alive and beyond. And I'm making them feel bad, and I'm making them buy things. So I love sewing and I love making a lot of money, but I did bear the weight of my action. So I started volunteering 2 days a week as freelance without his suicide. 2 days a week at an inter-school after-school program, inter-city after-school program. So I was teaching junior high school kids. So I came back to life. Fell back in love with my job. I thought all my clients were going to drop me because they couldn't come a Tuesday or Thursday, and usually a shoot is like a 5-day thing. So they just leave me. And my clients actually started jockeying for who could let me out earlier and pay me more to get me over my after-school program. It was really a blessed year. I was meant to be there. So that informed my endeavor now. Okay, let's talk about Bonnie B. Taylor. It's 12:28, and I definitely want to take at least 10 minutes from the end. I am building a summer school now. I've taken up after-school teaching again. I'm partnering with Credo Downtown. It's a nonprofit organization that just trying to explain it to. I went to the Credo Awards dinner this year and I tried to explain it to my date. It's like an octopus that just is a do-good Orlando community octopus. It just likes to gather money and then put it into the hands of, like the community and then spread it. It's a really interesting organization. So Ben, who's also the pastor of my church, found out that I like to sew and I like to teach sewing. He said, why don't we give you 6 sewing machines and an after school? And I said, wow, it's almost like you looked inside of me and saw what I needed and what I'd love to do. I need sewing machines and I love after schools. So I'm granted these sewing machines. I'm given the Jackson Center to partner with. And so I go every Tuesday, and then out of the woodwork, I get volunteers. Now we've got dedicated volunteers to sit on every sewing machine. We have 2 kids and 1 adult on every sewing machine. I believe that kids, when they're walking through a challenging process, need an adult just nearby. So we've got this whole posse of people that are dedicated. We're now a half a year in, and we've all made commitments for another year. To teach at the after-school program, we were awarded the United Arts Artists and Communities grant and Mayor's Mansion grant. So I now have this like cranking budget. It was so cool. You just sit down with a group of people and start writing about your passion, and people are there to listen. It's really neat. I've always been, as an artist, okay, artists struggle with money. I never have enough. It's always stressful, and then I have way too much, and then I spend it all, and then I never again. Cycle of life. At 41, I think I'm getting used to it. I think I'm hitting a good stride. But it's really neat to see how the community wants to see good things happen. They want to see people who have an arts profession go into an underserved neighborhood. And I don't necessarily care. I have boys and girls in my program, and I don't necessarily care whether the kids come out knowing that they sew. I like design thinking. I like how challenging the sewing machine is, and I like teaching human beings that they can create anything by walking into a process, doing it imperfectly, not giving up, sticking with it, and then seeing something come to life that is its own being. It's never exactly what you envisioned it at the beginning, but that process, oh, hello, this guy's a rock star. This is Carlos. Okay, so all of a sudden we have all this money. Last year I was just like throwing stuff in my studio at the classes. Now we've got funding, it's really great. I've got my team members designing projects. Wow, it was so easy. You know, the last time I talked here, it was so easy for me to talk because I just was talking about my past career. And now I'm going to try to talk to you about something I'm building right now. Is anybody building a business right now? Okay, cool. What is your business going to be?
Well, it's like a clothing boutique. So it's out of my apartment as of right now. So the whole idea is, you know, like Mary Kay, they do the trunk shows and they bring the products to you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm trying to do that with my clothes. So like I'll bring clothes to you when I have a party for like you and your friends, like to shop around. So that's kind of.
That's a great idea. It's like deeper than the pop-up shop. It's pop-up in your living room with your friends and a glass of wine. That's a great idea. Anybody else building a business? Yeah.
We're building hybrid street dance shoes. So something never released in the dance market before. Big project. But
Nice. I was obsessed with Capizios as streetwear, and the bottoms wear out to wearing. So the best looking shoes. I used to dress in costumes also. I was Nico, or I was a ballet dancer. For my life, yeah. Well,
we're going to be the next Capizio.
See, and I love that because when I would take them to a shoe store, they'd put a sole on them, and they would look horrid. Like they put a fixed method.
Right. So we have a sole that is durable for the outdoors, but it's thin. It's about 2 to 3 millimeters. So
That's amazing.
and the heel is obviously 13 millimeters, but you have to have that solid structure, for when the dancer lands and the jump and all that. So for leaps and all that. So.
Are you a dancer?
Yes.
I'm just a retired hipster who everybody I knew wanted to wear Capizios, and everybody I knew claimed that they wear out and they're wearing it. So that's just for streetwear. That's a great idea for streetwear because people like me, we love to make reference to dancers.
Right. What shoe size are you?
What's that?
What shoe size are you?
Women's 12.
Women's 12?
Yeah, I'm a
Wow.
challenge. 6 feet. All big. I saw somebody else who's building a business. Yes.
Yeah, it's a monthly underground dance party. So we hop around from venue to venue and create a space where people can connect with each other in an easier way and experience aesthetics in a completely new way for Orlando.
Very cool. What kind of music?
It's post-genre. I mean, I think people like more than one genre. We host rock bands, DJs that play open format, and we usually have some kind of art experience that's meant to bring people together.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I want to build is, so you guys know, and I imagine, you know, Creativity and Launchpad, you guys are at some point going to try to cobble together a business or an endeavor or something. It's not easy. Like this morning, I woke up and all of my money work for the week is done, and I was coming here and I had 2 hours of like this like really stellar do stuff time, and I ended up like eating cereal and, you know, just essentially farting around. Like it's really, I feel like a seed with a really tough shell that's still underground, and I'm trying so hard to break through my tough shell and become a plant, but it's a very slow process. I'm going to build a sewing school. It wants to have a component brick and mortar. It wants to be taught, you know, I want to curate a fabric store, so never again do you have to worry about the crappy, weird, stiff cotton ink prints. I like to actually work with fair trade and organic and things you actually want to work with. And I also find that the process of learning to sew is antiquated. I don't think that people have the attention span anymore, or the time on their hands to go through a full pattern. I want to learn. I want to teach you life skills. I want you to lay your eyes on anything and say, I can make that, and you're equipped with a cool toolkit to do so. You don't need a pattern. You don't need, you know, you don't need to go hit vote and get close to your vision. I would like to equip you all to be designers of anything, because that's basically what I am. Anything I want, I basically make, but it's been more from anything. So I want to build out a lesson structure that's 40 lessons, at least in my mind, that's what it is. Beginner. You'll be given kits where everything's cut for you, lines are drawn. You use the same sewing machine that I use, Carlos interns with me. He came to me through my last Launchpad, and he broke through to Janome, which is the #1 hardest organization apparently to get to. It took me, I tried for months, and he took another couple of weeks and got a Janome representative to come and talk to us. And, you know, our conversation at first started with what can I do to get their attention, and by the end of it turned into, wow, well, we could customize sewing machines for your brand, and well, I can maybe donate some for your school, for your prototype lab. It was a really interesting experience, but I'd like to partner with this sewing machine company so that everyone who's learning is working on the same sewing machine as me. Take the mystery out of which machine do you buy, because it's another stressful point. Teaching people how to do something antiquated is stressful. All the choices are stressful. What I just want to do is minimize the choices. You never have to go into choice again. I will curate your toolkit. Each lesson you'll build one skill, you'll get one hip item. I scour magazines like Purple and advertised by companies like Lanvin, and I find their simple objects, and I hope to replicate high-end couture designer objects down to you, so that when you're learning how to do a French seam, you're also coming out of it with the delicious mouth-watering thing that makes everyone, you know, crazy. So I want to trigger in my learner, not just, I want carrots. I want something good that when you're working through these lessons, because they're going to be hard and you're going to be on a machine that wants to run faster than your hands, it's intimidating and the thread's going to jam and it's going to suck. You know, at the end of it, you're also going to get this killer bag that most women have to pay $2,500 for, and made it yourself. Come to you, and then you want to go on to lesson number 2, which will be zippers. You know, it's just like one skill, one lesson, move on it. Beginner, and then in intermediate, you choose your fabric and you cut it. In advanced, you start working with the body. And then in designer, we teach you how to build a dress form that's your body size and shape. We have a product that's the leg stand. So every sewer, the thing that sewers don't have any way to fit on themselves, it's a big stumbling point. So you wind up with crappy looking stuff that looks like either a way too small thing with darts up here or a big sack, and you don't know how to alter it because the pattern is not built for you. You go through my program, you will come at the end of it with a dress form that's you. So it's very easy to build to you. You sculpt onto you. I've made all of my, I used to have a custom wedding dress company. I used to have a custom stage, musician stage company. Built costumes for Wilco, built costumes for Jagger, built costumes, blah, blah, blah. I try to drop names because it's not because it's building me up, it keeps everybody interested. So, you know, and it works. It lets you be a sculptor of your object. rather than a follower of a pattern. I'm trying to turn around the way sewing. I mean, sewing is a very daunting thing that nobody wants to do because it sucks the way that it's available to people now. So we're trying to work with that. It wants to have an online component. Every one of my lessons actually wants to be downloadable. And I am going to follow the Tupperware. I'm thinking of Tupperware. Tupperware is located here in Orlando. And a friend of mine, he is friends with the CEO of Tupperware. And I'd actually like to make my lessons, much like what you're doing, things where if you go through my 40 lessons, you can become certified as a teacher, and then you can rep the sewing machine line, you can rep the product line, you can rep the process, and you can either start an after-school program or start a center in your city that can teach, homeschool kids. You can go to Uganda and, teach, the micro companies. You can take this lesson kit anywhere and teach the basic skills. I can't dream of everything, but I can equip people who then have their own dreams to spread out. I would like to bring sewing back to life. That's what I want to do. That's my vision. And nobody else is doing it, so I think it's going to be wildly successful. Carlos keeps getting these weird projects, like, go source this. And he always comes back to me in like 14 minutes. Like, yeah, I got that. When I diddle around on the computer for hours.
This would be a good time for to do a little plug for after that, when Bonnie came in, Carlos and Aaron got inspired. You want to tell the group what you've started?
Yeah.
So it's called Student Fashion Network. It's basically like, if you're interested in Korean fashion, come together, great community, you can talk to people about it. And also we're bringing in people like Barney who are creating businesses. We also have Najalia, who she knows too. They're looking for interns, assistants, helpers, stylists who do fashion shows at Mall Millennia, stuff like that. So if you want exposure to like fashion world and really jumpstart your career, just come to us. First meeting is August 27th at the CEO.
What time?
6:30.
And where can they find you? Are you on Facebook?
Mm-hmm.
What's the name?
Student Fashion.
Student Fashion Network. So you guys, if you're interested, connect right away and get out there on the 27th. What time?
6:30.
6:30 at CEL is BA1, room 135, you guys? 135. It's where the starter lab is. It's where you should be hanging out when you're studying, because you'll run into other entrepreneurs hanging out in that building, just studying over there. And back in the back of that room, there's a sewing machine that any of you guys can use, and a whole sewing corner right now.
Did you get the kit?
I haven't even looked at what's over there. I know I sent him everything you sent me. I don't know what he bought.
Well, who was it?
Cameron.
Cameron asked me to help him curate a little corner, like a little maker's corner, so I picked out some of my favorite tools and the machine that I will be repping. So it's there if you guys want to mess around with the machine.
So you can create prototypes over in that room.
Exactly.
Okay, at any time. Just go over there and use the material. There's also CAD design software, and there's a 3D printer there that you guys can use also.
And it's amazing. Free resources. Okay, let's talk about, I don't know how to call what my business model is. It is broke, inventive, community plugged in, circular. All right, my church is empty Monday through Friday. It's a gorgeous warehouse in the Idaho district. They're going to rent it to me Monday through Friday. The deal is I have to sweep it up and take my junk out. But Monday through Friday, I get about 3,000 square feet of beautifully rehabbed. Like, you would want to film your indie film there. Like, they've made custom walls that rehab wood. And we're just a very creative urban church. So anyway, I need to go in, basically, okay, so my space. That's my space. Element 2 is community. Carlos is interested in becoming a stylist. I know a lot of stylists. So Carlos has asked if he could intern with me, and I have a very gratefully said yes. In exchange, whenever I go to New York City and I meet stylists, I ask them questions and I see if there's any way that I can connect to Carlos. So far, I've only been going back to Ralph Lauren, and all of them are in-house, but when I go on shoots that are not, I will be plugging Carlos. Also, we have an agreement that I'm going to start shooting in Miami. So I'm going to start bringing Carlos as an assistant to Miami. In exchange, Carlos, when I come up with this crazy stuff, I don't know how to use computers. I'm a retard. I'm 41, y'all. This I have the first Bonnie Barton at yahoo.com with no underscores or anything like that because that's how old I am. I got to have that. Carlos researches things and actually gets results. So you're like my sourcing intern, and he wants to learn how to sew. So I'm building a business. Like these are all things that in a traditional company, I would have to have an office. I don't know which person you would be in the company, but I'm just sort of working off of a currency of exchange because what he's doing for me as I grow is extremely effective and critical.
Tell what you're doing with Aaron.
Okay, so Aaron,
He couldn't come today.
Aaron, what's his name?
Ethic.
Pethick. I always read it backwards as the pick. But Aaron wants to do a clothing line, and I've made him a design prototype for his first, I'm making him his production pattern and his design photo for his sort of identity piece. It's coming together really well. I've sent him, I'm not doing his work for him, he has to build relationships with fabric vendors, he's had to pick out his own fabric, we've been through that like 8 times. It was a real process of getting a young designer to commit to a fabric is an emotional process. I held his hand through that, he got his fabric, it's stunning. Got the first fit done, it was perfect, we're super happy. He's doing design elements, it's going to be back in my hands. I own him for 26 hours now. So I don't know what I'm going to do with Aaron Pethick. I'm thinking social media, it's another area I'm totally retarded. I've heard you can build a viable, thriving business using Pinterest and Instagram. Pam has connected me with, I'm seriously, where I am in my business right now, I have my vision. I've got my first lesson. I take inspiration pictures, I am nervous, I'm sweating right now trying to talk to you, I can't believe I can breathe, it's just a miracle. I'm trying to present to you about something that I am in the insecurity phase of making, but I know in 5 years, it's going to be a brand. It's just, I'm there. And that's where, you guys said, did you ever nail that one conversation, or did you make your choices? All of my conversations, all my choices, just stick to it. So I've got a life of watching stick to it really pay off in ways that I put in a little effort, and then God takes over and doors open, and then holy cannoli, I'm in St. Bart's for 10 days. Yes.
Tell them, okay, on that part, right?
Yes.
Tell them a little bit what you're doing with Rockland and Barron.
Okay, yeah. So Pam, I meant to do that. Actually,
And this is a great example because
it's getting even better.
It's not that, and I'm not bringing stuff up so it goes back to the Launchpad, but I want it to go back to community.
Yeah.
I want it to go back to what we're trying to do. Like, how much has it been accelerated in people's life because they give, ask, and how many people were connecting to accelerate. We're going to be affecting the whole apparel industry in Orlando in 5 years, right?
So yes.
Tell them what we've got started.
That's actually, you know what? I feel like we've done question and answers, and there's really not any questions you can ask me on what I'm doing right now because I kind of don't know. I do know if I stick with it, that's what I'd like to leave you guys with from my experience. I stick with stuff, and blindly, faithfully, I know it might not go in the direction that I think it's going to go. It might morph, it might be weird, but I do know it's going to become. It's going to, the seed was planted in me in a very strong way. It's meant to be. So I'm just going to wake up every day, and whether that looks like today I ate cereal, and I did read my grandmother's hand-me-down Vogue book of sewing, which I plan to use for my guidebook for about 10 minutes. So that was my effort today. I still have work after every year. But I'm going to go into community. And you know what? I'm going to assert the question and answer. If anybody wants to do question and answer, we'll do it at 1. Pam has been amazing. The reason that I'm working with Erin is Pam goes on these, Pam's the busiest woman I've ever met in my life. I befriended Debbie, and then you wanted to present your vision to Debbie, and I happened to be there, so I got to go off the ride and see one of the most brilliant minds I've ever seen in presenting
I
a
did not
vision.
ask her to say this. I'm sorry.
But it literally, it was in a moment where I was like, am I gonna do my business or not? And she came in and presented her business plan to Debbie, and I said, hell yeah, I'm gonna do that. I want that fire. So I met you that day. I met you briefly, but that day I met you. And Pam agreed. I didn't know how busy she was. She just said, yeah, if you ever want to walk and talk, I can meet you in the morning. So she's got these like very tight little, like we can meet at 8:03 and we walk and talk. So Pam goes on walks with me and she just generously listens to me. And so I figured if I want to keep Pam rolling, I have to say yes to things that Pam asks, because Pam, every time I come out of a walk, I've got my direction for the next 4 months. That's how effective a walk with Pam. It is true. I don't mean to, blow smoke, but it's been really. She gives me vision boards. She gives me task lists and things I wouldn't have thought of, and all of them are done. I'm actually current right now.
Time for a walk.
Yeah, it is. I'm so uncomfortable though. I don't even know if I can walk.
Yeah, that's the time we need to walk.
Yeah, I'm so uncomfortable. My warehouse, I rented it last week. I haven't been in it. I mean, it's sort of how I'm dealing with everything right now. Is I'm just sort of like. So community, she sent me this student Erin, and I was all stressed out. I didn't want to meet with him, but I was like, dang it, I love one of those walks. I have to go and meet with this kid Erin. And then I go and I'm dragging myself in there. I think I'm wearing gym clothes because I just don't want to go and help everybody. And I'm like, and he comes and he's this 21-year-old version of me. And totally lights up my endeavor again, just showing me pictures and talking about his passion. I needed it. Erin came to me at a time when I needed somebody to remind me of how exciting and fun creativity is. He doesn't know how to sew. I needed Erin to come to me at a time when somebody could remind me of how amazing it is to be enabled to just make things, to have a vision, and be empowered to do it. You don't want to send it off to China necessarily. Somebody else does not always need to do it. We can do things ourselves. So then I was all wound up on that, and I wind up saying, yes, I'll build your prototype. And then I walk in, I was like, I don't have time for any. And then I start building this prototype, and I get back into my passion. I haven't designed, I used to have a design line. And I love designing things. And it's just this wonderful experience of Pam, shoved me face first into relationship with Erin. And now I'm in this great process. And Erin and I are actually friends, and I love working with the kids. It's really cool and smart, and he's got a great vision. And his first design is almost done, and then now I get to carry out that work relationship because he's going to do some thinking social network. We're all going to be, but these two, I've been invited to do a pop-up shop, which I don't even know how that relates to me, but I just said yes, that's how I do. Erin and Carlos are going to meet over the weekend and talk about potential design visions for things that we could make real quick and throw in the pop-up shop just to get some exposure for the school. So we'll see how that goes.
Wow. Rob.
Oh, Rock and Apparel at 8 minutes. So Pam sends me, if you get in with Pam, she'll start getting you busy. So she says, hey, I want you and you to have coffee at Starbucks on this day. And it's Rob from Rock and Apparel, and it has this kind of kitschy name. So I was like, okay, this is a kid with an idea. No, this is a man who's 25 with a $1.4 million business selling customized socks that he's running out of Orlando, and he's inspiring Nike, and he's inspiring Adidas, and he's partnering with
And he'll be here next Tuesday.
And I'm serious, meet the dude. He's the most down-to-earth but effective human being in the world. So we get in this conversation. I'm fashion photo advertising. I don't have any product. He's all product. He has no network. We just start talking, but we're like-hearted people. So we really enjoy this conversation. It's fireworks. Now we're going to do once a month a networking dinner. We call it the 18. We meet on the 18th of every month in Prado. He brought one designer, a graphic designer, and I brought 3 designers. And we're just going to let this build and grow a lot like I let the Designers Guild of Orlando build and grow. We don't know where it's going to go. You all have to become professionals making your living in the design industry, and then you can join too. But we'll probably, once we get enough of an identity of who we are, we will probably open it up to people who are desiring to be in fashion apparel. But for right now, we're just sticking with this community. And can I tell you, sitting down, the reason I'm doing this stupid pop-up shop, this exciting pop-up shop, is because I went to this dinner and talked to Dana, and she said, oh, you're promoting a school. Well, I need local businesses to handmade objects. And now I'm in. and I'm going to teach my first 2 lessons at a pop-up shop with a very high profile done by the owner of Daly City. I live with food trucks. About 10,000 people are going to come over and see my product in my car. It's over a 6-day span. And Carlos is probably going to curate the designs. Well, I think we are going to do the flowers. I found ways to make them. It's turning into a lot of men's haberdashery because my interns are dudes. So, and then Rockham Apparel, he makes these socks. He's got this computer, this $50,000 printer. He's wanted to make pocket tees. And somebody suggested pocket tees. So I emailed Carlos and said, Carlos, get on it. We need a wholesale account with American Apparel. And he did that in 4 seconds. So I filled out the form, and that's happening. And then Rockham Apparel, who partners with like Crush, the rapper, and his socks sell out in 10 minutes. They're now collector's editions on eBay for $1,000 a pair. Wants to do pocket tees, and he's like, I haven't had any resource for somebody to sew the pockets for my thing onto the tees. And I said, I've trained a workroom. Now in the mix is maybe Bonnie Taylor workroom will partner with Rockham Apparel to have a local workroom to do these awesome.
Okay, give her a hand.
That's good, right?
Community acceleration. You have to show up, yes, show me how
This, none of this. I'm good at sitting in a room. I'm good at worrying. I am good at, I'm like the weird stray cat who gets its first boner when it comes to an endeavor. I just fling myself at it. You know what I mean? Have you ever had that cat that you're like, get off of me, because it's just like hurtling itself in your legs. Whenever I get an idea, that's me. That's how I get into my stuff. I'm trying not to cuss. I love to cuss. But Pam's got this strength of saying, here's this talent, here's a community. One dinner, and I've had this vision, this loose vision for Alt Lab, the Alterations Laboratory. No one in Orlando can afford me as a tailor. I'm just going to tell you that right now. My hourly rate through my industry, and that's the only rate I'm willing to work at, because I don't really like altering anybody's clothes. Truth be told, I really don't want to hem your pants. I'm just going to be honest about that. Don't ask anyone, unless you get something really cool to trade me for it. I am teaching people. Aaron has signed up. Carlos has expressed interest. I'll have 6 machines. We're going to do what's called Alt Lab. If anybody in Orlando wants their stuff altered, I will not do it for you. I will teach other people to do it, and I will walk people through the process of altering clothes from one of the 50 most well-trained tailors in the world, possibly. A woman who owns a store that's a vintage store and has a design line said, oh my gosh, if I could send you clients for this Alt Lab, I could fill your Alt Lab up for the next 5 years because there are no tailors in Orlando. So this one dinner basically fleshed out all of my time for a long time. And it's all viable money-making business. It's within my field and my passion. So I don't know how to say, just let Pam handle it. She's a firecracker of community and bring things together. If she ever suggests something, we can go do it.
Not Pam.
Launchpad.
It's Launchpad and it's community. So I was the catalyst in your life with the people that have touched you. There's everybody that is in our community, everyone that currently serves, like me, I serve here. We're working this, but you guys, you have to show up, you have to be willing to go to the coffee, you have to be willing to give first, and give first to the community partner, and then the community partner can say, what can I do for you? But you guys right now are at the best place of your life to go find someone you can give to and help them get further along in their dreams, and then be ready to receive from them the value, right? So if we can practice this way of community and of accelerating other people, and stop saying, I don't have anything to give. Because you are good at something, you have extra time, and if you will go out and start volunteering and getting engaged, all kinds of blessings are going to flow back to you.
And I want to plug Carlos's group. Actually, Carlos's group is a really brilliant ICF group. It's a group who's somebody like me. I've said my whole life, I need an intern, because I know my experience can help a student. I have no idea who to call. It's always on my list, my to-do list, call, etc. about interns. Never done it, and so Carlos is partnering with me on that level. He's your go-between now. When I was at this table talking to every one of us is earning our entire living and welcome apparel, that and then some, plus a whole bunch more. We're the people who are nose to the project, right? We have no way of connecting. Everyone piped up and was like, oh my God, are you serious? There's an organization that wants that. So seriously, you guys start going to those meetings because Bajalia, Debbie wants interns, and she is an international jewelry company whose founding mission is to keep women making money so they don't fall in third world nations into, things that are beneath their dignity. It's a fair trade organization. She's selling on HSN.
And she's coming in September. Watch
She'll
your
be talking.
email. She's going to be in the launch pad in September.
And she'll also be, speaking with Carlos, and she's going to be in the 18 group. Rock'em Apparel is probably, I'm going to connect him with you, Rob, because he's another one who said they could absolutely, bless an intern. There's a ton of stuff that I can't handle doing, like the American Apparel. I just, it's like I send an email, and for you it's flawless. For me, it's like it'll shut me down for hours. It's like, I don't know how to get in there. So, in the blessing in return, from the mind of somebody who takes on an intern, I hope that everyone who takes on an intern has a part like me. Every time I run into a stylist or a fashion student, I'm talking about Carlos, and I'm in the inner circle of fashion. And when fashion starts sending me down to Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, and when I have permission from my clients, I am going to take my intern with me. Because it's not you give me a bunch of free stuff and watch me. It's a circular relationship that, So this might be actually why I'm here today, is to really talk to you guys about there are viable ways to get your fingers dirty. And Kid's going to have a killer recommendation. A killer recommendation. So, so that said, get involved, and I think we're done. Yay.
Let's give her a hand.
So we have a tradition here at the launch pad.